Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. My partner was flashing me. So
Mine's in a Pikachu onesie right now.
There's boobs over there, so I'm not listening to you.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you have boobs too, but
they're not real.
I don't get to see your nipples, and they're not real. Ada Lulch says, I saw that in the Netherlands a transgender was given the title for Miss International Queen 2023. I won't post a picture of that man and then post a picture of someone else that won some other beauty contest. Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not, but I'm actually about to look up who won because I guarantee...
No, Suris, this is delicious because the Miss International Queen pageant is a pageant that is specifically for transgender women. So, like, this person is so transphobic that they are upset that a trans person won a beauty pageant for trans people.
Huh.
Like, what the fuck?
Okay. Sure, why not? Also wait, this is who she's angry about? So the person's name was Fuchsia Ravenna? Who the fuck would think this is a man? Who? Hold on, Rhino.
What?
This is the real reason she refuses to post a picture of her.
Is because...
I just sent you on Discord.
Oh, God, okay. I was just trying to look it up.
Who? Who would think that?
Okay, but forget whether or not they pass.
No, I'm not forgetting it. I refuse to forget it. I'm looking at this going... She tried... No. I'm sticking on this. The whole reason this dumb bitch tries to do this whole, like, oh, the reason I won't show a picture of that man is because she knows that her audience has an image in their head of what a trans woman looks like, and it looks like the cartoon images that are posted by the fucking Valid L's Twitter channel all the time. That's the image of a trans woman in their heads. So she refuses to show a picture of the winner because there are some people who are incredibly transphobic, but yet have never actually seen what a transitioned female can look like, and yet here we are. Like,
what's your name again? Fuchsia something?
Fuchsia Ravenna.
Fuchsia Ravenna. Yeah, I'm not afraid to say it. She's fucking hot.
Like, I'm gonna stick on that for a second because it's not the whether or not she passes conversation. You don't have to pass to be valid and be trans. I don't care about that conversation right now. The conversation I care about is the fact that the entire point of not showing her picture is for audience manipulation, because she knows that her entire argument, even if this were a regular women's competition that's not specifically made for trans women, she of course doesn't show that part too because her audience gets manipulated by that.
No, she didn't know that part. She just saw beauty contests and was like, "Oh, this has to be for cis people."
I'm not giving that benefit of the doubt. No, I'm just going to go with malicious person does malicious things.
Okay,
that's where I'm at.
Sure.
Shouldn't.
I heard you say that. I'm like, how is saying that she's too stupid to have, like, done some basic fact checking giving the benefit of the doubt? I feel like that's giving her... We can argue about which one makes Ada look better. But because they both have her looking like an idiot.
Now, I'm gonna go full Sun Tzu's Art of War. I'm not going to assume incompetence here. I'm going to assume that every single marker of this was a deliberate strategical move, and in so doing, she shows her hand entirely.
So, Cute Dark Art says pretty wings in the last one. Oh yeah, yeah, lots of pretty wings in that picture.
People make me angry. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, people are stupid, particularly Ada. More trans stuff. EJ Rosetta, this is a two-parter, says, "Dear trans women," only one word, so you know they're transphobic. Says, "You have so much power right now."
No, they don't.
No, they don't. "If you'd only stand up and say, me using a woman's bathroom isn't worth the risk that poses to women and girls, so I won't do that, then you would see immediate action from feminists to protect you in male spaces. I have faith in you."
That would be every trans person getting up and saying, hey, inside me is the budding seed of a rapist, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I might rape a person. That's what that would be.
Well, also, like, that would be, like, this person that I'm showing now, this absolutely gorgeous trans woman, now has to, like, go into the men's room to use the washroom, according to this person. Not to mention the fact that, like, if you look into this, there have been a grand total of 1 instances of men who have actually, like, dressed as a woman to invade a woman's only space in order to commit sexual assault, and it was in Toronto before Ontario passed any of this any like equality in bathrooms for trans people bills. So, like, this person entered a woman's shelter dressed as a woman, pretending to be a woman, in order to assault women, and it was done when it was illegal to do that. It was like a trans woman would not have been allowed in a woman's shelter in this time period, and this person was still allowed in a woman's shelter. So, like, making it illegal for trans women to use women's bathrooms does not actually protect women. All it does is make trans people less safe.
And
like, that's like the thing that I just said, that's the one example of a man actually dressing as a woman in order to invade a woman's space, pretending to be a woman in order to sexually assault women. Like, that just never happens. It's just not a thing that ever happens.
I'm so tired.
And anyway, moving on to point 2, they continue. "It's not trans women I personally fear, it's the men, the male kind, using the gaping loophole of self-ID to access women's spaces. The cross-dressers in bathrooms, the fetishists in lesbians' bars, the men using women's changing rooms at the gym. You could stop that. Please try to." Like I said, this has not ever been an issue except for one time, and it was a time when it was illegal to do that. So,
moreover,
self-ID does not make it more risky for women. It just makes it safer for trans people.
Not to mention, I literally, a friend of mine who was homeless and is trans, but had not been able to transition because of, being homeless.
Yeah.
Was in a shelter where they got assaulted in the shelter because it was a men's shelter and that was the only place you could go to in Florida. Like the fucking, it's not hard. It's not hard to see what the actual threats are here, but the imaginary ones are infinitely more interesting, I guess. It's like with the QAnon shit, where you get a group of people that have this giant make-believe conspiracy session about all the terrible devil evils in the world, and they focus on those a lot, and they talk about them in almost like it's a kid's clubhouse, and then they simultaneously never do anything about any of it, feel important when bad things don't happen because people like Alex Jones tell them, oh, well, you knowing this, that would have stopped them. That would have stopped them.
Is Alex Jones still broadcasting?
Yes, he is.
Does anybody still listen to him?
Yes, unfortunately. He's still a multimillionaire and he still makes plenty of money.
God damn it.
But like because back when I was an Alex Jones fan, you
used to be an Alex Jones fan?
Yes, when I was
oh my god, Suris.
Okay, so fun story for that. So when I was 16, 17, that very, very much, conservative Christian, not quite as young or as creationist as I used to be because my biology teacher was a Catholic, and because I was in a because PCA taught in a very non-denominational way so they could get more students and therefore more money. In my brain, a Catholic was just a different flavor of Christian. So a Christian that believes in evolution meant that I could too. They were an authority figure. I was a very stupid kid.
Weren't we all?
So a friend of mine at the time who's gone full MAGA cult, and I don't consider a friend anymore, but he was a friend at the time, and he wanted to test my faith. He was an agnostic, and he specifically wanted to test my faith. So he sat me down in his room and played Zeitgeist. And it didn't do anything to my faith, but because I was a paranoid fundamental Christian that believed that it spoke to that part of me that wanted to feel really, really special with special knowledge about the Bilderbergers and all that other fun stuff, and it put me on the path of being an Alex Jones fan, because this particular version of Zeitgeist was edited to have loose change interspliced into it as well. So
do you want to know my experience with Zeitgeist? It was introduced to me by the conspiracy theorist guy that I worked with who didn't believe the moon landings happened. And he told me to go watch Zeitgeist. So I did go watch Zeitgeist, and I was a committed, believing Christian, evolution denying, whole 9 yards when I watched Zeitgeist. And when I watched it, it got to the third part, which was the whole religion part. And, how Christianity is just the copycat religion or whatever. And that part, because I was a believing Christian, I was like, okay, this part's got to be bullshit. And so I started looking into it, and it's like, yeah, the copycat theory, that is kind of bullshit. Like, most of the points they were making had, like, it's zero actual historical backing up. And, like, stuff like, saying that ISIS copied Jesus, or Jesus copied ISIS, or whatever, but, like, the timeline on it was wrong, or I forget exactly, but
back
it's like,
when ISIS meant something completely different to the public knowledge.
Yeah, okay, the Egyptian god Isis, not the Islamic State. Yeah, no, it was like there was stuff that was like, when you look it up, it's like, okay, no, they got the time frame completely wrong for that. That doesn't even work, and like the story is only very tangentially similar, and so that got me thinking, okay, well, if that, I'm a Christian, I believe in Christianity, so Christianity has to be true, so it's not a copycat religion. So if they got that wrong, what else did they get wrong? And so that actually kind of led me down a more skeptical path, which ended up with me not being a Christian anymore, but also not believing the Zeitgeist movie about any of its shit. Because it's like, well, if they're going to just blatantly lie about this, what else are they lying about?
You were a much more reasonable person than I was around that time.
I was also, like, that was kind of concurrent with my reading of the Bad Astronomy blog, which was, like, I've said this before, Phil Plait was the first person to write an article that had me notice an actual error in the Bible with, like, well, if the wise men at Christmas time saw a star in the east and followed that star, how'd they end up going west? And it's like, yeah, it could just be like that Greek word could just mean they saw the star as it rises, and if the star rose in the west, then it would make sense that they followed it west. But then that translation's only ever found in the footnotes, not in the main text. And, this is the inerrant word of God. You'd think that the proper translation would be in the main text, not in the footnotes. And that was what, like, triggered my descent into atheism. So this was kind of along this, like, this was about the same time that I started noticing that sort of thing.
So the reason that the reason I bring any of that up is one of the things Alex Jones used to do all the time back then was he would scream about the next apocalypse that was going to happen that you needed to buy gold and vitamins for.
Yeah.
And then when it didn't happen, he would then make a broadcast that said that we stopped them because so many people knew about what was going to happen, and that's the thing that stops them from being able to do their stuff. Like he literally painted a world where if everything is happening in your head, that's the only place where it needs to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, next tweet. This was in a tweet, but the tweet's kind of irrelevant. I just kind of like the meme, so I saved the meme without the tweet. Gravity is a lie. Density and buoyancy are the truth. So, with density and buoyancy, the reason things go up versus down based on their buoyancy is because of what? If gravity is a lie, like why do dense
what force is acting on that?
Why do dense things go down? What is it that determines that down is the correct direction for dense things to go if gravity doesn't exist?
Flat earthers definitely have one thing right. Density is the thing we need to be talking about.
They are very dense. They are so dense that you can find them on the seafloor with that submarine that just imploded.
Oh. That's dark.
It is dark, but it's also kind of funny. Like, I mean, it's sad that the kid that didn't want to go on the submarine was on the submarine and died. But if we put that part of it aside, it's funny that a billionaire spent a bunch of money on extravagant
Why did they use
bullshit.
carbon fiber and not steel? Who the fuck? They were told not to.
Because that's the libertarian submarine.
I like how so on Twitter, there's a contingent of people who are like bon voyaging everybody who died on the submarine as like the brave new world libertarian thinkers, that they're gonna pave the way for industry decoupled from whatever they think is controlling it. The Jews, I guess. I don't know.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. My partner was flashing me. So.
Mine's in a Pikachu onesie right now.
There's boobs over there, so I'm not listening to you.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you have boobs too, but
they're not real.
I don't get to see your nipples, and they're not real.
I mean, there's a couple of Twitter.
I was
accounts.
just about to be like, "Where's the fan art of Suris with his nipples?" No, wait, I've seen those.
Yeah,
I have nipples in those one too.
Yeah. Some of that fan art involves you.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says another trans shooter regarding, I forget which shooting this was, some shooting that happened recently. What's amusing about this, though, is that the person that they've got the picture of saying it's another trans shooter, their Facebook page is no longer up, but Vice News reported on it, and they went in, they examined their Facebook page and looked through everything. And it turns out that the shooter that Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling trans, didn't seem to be trans. Seemed to just be a guy who was very vocal about his support for Donald Trump and the Second Amendment and liking guns and liking Trump and not liking Biden. But there were 3 pictures on his profile that were him in a dress with long hair. Therefore, it's a trans shooter, even though it's a Republican Second Amendment gun nut.
Oh, I see. The Independent actually has an entire article on this, pointing out that she leads the far-right voices falsely claiming that the Philadelphia shooter is trans.
Yeah, and I actually cut this tweet off because it shows the thing. I have a policy on my channel where I don't ever mention the names of any of these shooters, because part of the reason people do shootings is, well, this is a way for me to go down in the history books and be famous. So fuck that. I'm not giving them what they want. They don't get named for this. But yeah, no, this person is not trans, or at least there's very little evidence. The only evidence is you can find pictures of him in a dress with long hair. You can find pictures of me in women's lingerie. You can find a video of me in women's lingerie. No, I don't have it queued up. I'm not going to play it for you. I will spare you that now. But it's it'd be like pulling that video up and being like, oh, Vice Rhino is trans. No, I'm not. I'm a cis guy. Just because I wore lingerie once because I thought it was funny doesn't mean I'm trans.
Oy, oy, oy.
So anyway, let's move on from this one, because fuck that. Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene for just trying to, no, not fuck in a good way. Fucked up the ass with a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. because she's just trying to spread fear of trans people using shootings as that. It's like, even if this person was trans, that's like 4 mass shootings that have been carried out by trans people in the entire history of the United States, as opposed to like how many of them have been carried out by straight white Republican men?
Thousands.
Yeah, like if we want to compare it and like do a comparison based on what their percentage of the population is, then it seems like being a cis white Republican man is much more concerning than being trans anything. So anyway, moving on. Conscious Philosopher says, to address this once and for all, yes, the Big Bang is the proof that the universe began to exist. Also, you have Dr. William Lane Craig's philosophical proof that the universe can't be eternal, among many other arguments. What I found most interesting about this is that when discussing cosmology, whether or not the universe had a beginning, rather than quote a cosmologist or bring up a cosmologist to support that position, they quote a philosopher, an apologist, William Lane Craig. Because, as it turns out, when you actually quote cosmologists about this, they are pretty much unwilling to say anything definitive about whether or not our universe had a beginning. Like, yes, our local instantiation of space-time had a beginning in the Big Bang, but the universe as a whole, the cosmos as a whole, we don't know. And
which is the honest answer, and they don't like the honest answer. They like the abrupt, knee-jerk, this is the answer that I know works answer.
Well, because if it had a beginning, then it had to have a beginner, and that must be God. Which, like, there's a bunch of assumptions in there as well. But, like, even if we grant those assumptions, the base assumption that the universe had a beginning is not necessarily true. That has not been established. It's just our local instantiation of space-time has a beginning. Nobody contests that. But our local instantiation of space-time is not everything that exists or will exist or has existed.
Hold on.
Oh, my partner just gave me my credit card back, so now I'm afraid to check the statement.
I see the thing about the report from Vice News. Apparently, this the on the previous one about the shooter. Apparently, they supported Donald Trump and also BLM. That's a weird. That's a weird.
No, Marjorie Taylor Greene claimed that they supported BLM.
No.
Because there was like one picture of him with his fist raised in the air or something. So that's obviously a BLM supporter.
The Vice News article seems to suggest the same thing.
I don't know. Maybe I read a different article. Maybe Vice News has multiple articles on that.
Oh, wait, no, I see what it is. Okay, so The Independent that was reporting on the Vice News article, The Independent claims that he supported Black Lives Matter, but on the Vice News article, the only mention of Black Lives Matter is pointing out that this person was more concerned about stopping gun control legislation than Black Lives Matter, but there's not any other real... Yeah, there's no other mention there.
Blade Runner says no, raise fists as Black Panthers. Like, yeah, but like in this day and age, that's taken to mean Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. Okay. I see what it is now. The Independent that was posting based on the information in the Vice article. The Independent got that part wrong.
Okay, so the main point here is that I was right and you were wrong. Moving on.
Thanks, Rhino. You're a good friend.
So Frank Turek says, what is your favorite Bible translation and why? So I find it interesting that this is even a possible question. Like, it's the inerrant word of God. Like, Frank Turek believes in biblical inerrancy. Now, he will tell you that it's the original documents that were inerrant. Our translations all introduced errors, and the copies of the originals introduced errors. But the original documents were without error. But, like, it's the inerrant word of an omnipotent being, but we somehow managed to bungle the translation. And, like, is God going to let us know which translation is the correct translation? Which one is better than the other ones? Because there definitely are some that are better than others.
You'd think that. Technically, the New American Standard version is the most accurate one that scholars point to.
Yeah,
Correct?
that's the most scholarly one that is still written in approachable English.
Mm-hmm.
I'm partial to the Anchor Bible translation, but like it's hard to get a hold of. Like you have to buy it book by book, and they're like $44 per book or whatever. So like I have Genesis and Mark and I think one of the other Gospels. I'm not sure which one, but like I have like 3 or 4 of the Anchor Bible, and like I would like to have the whole Bible in Anchor, but that would be expensive. And like, let's be real, I'm not turning to the Book of Lamentations very often.
What is the Pigeon Bible? What?
The Pigeon Bible.
Hold on, I have.
Is that
to know.
in Pigeon English? Because that would be fantastic. Oh, I would love to see Pigeon English Bible.
The book is 752 pages long. It was translated. Who worked on it with 27 Pigeon speakers for 12 years.
Nice.
Huh. Yeah, no. The Pigeon Bible's a thing.
Plow King asks, why so expensive? Because it's a translation of the Bible that, like, it's a new translation where they have included translation notes. They explain exactly why they chose the words that they chose to translate out of Hebrew. They give a discussion of the current scholarship, and it's been a multi-decade process. So, like, the book of Genesis that I have from the Anchor Bible, that was translated in like the 1960s, but then when you get further on, the Bible is translated in like the 1990s, because that's how long it took them to get through the Bible to that point. It's published by Yale. It's very academic. It's not just, hey, we translated it in English, here's the Bible for you. It's here's all of what we understand about the language so far, and why we chose the words we did, and why some people might disagree with that, and why others might agree with that. And it's a fantastic translation. I love it.
So apparently in the English Standard version of the Bible, there's a couple of really, really fun translations that come from that. Like Luke 17:35, there will be 2 women grinding together. One will be taken and the other to the left. And the other will be the other left. Or Psalm 69, nice, 23, let their eyes be darkened so they cannot see, and make their loins tremble continually.
Luke 17:35, there will be 2 women grinding together. One will be taken, the other will be left. Yeah, no, I tend to favor the ESV, because that's kind of a nice balance between plain English and being scholarly, but they also play fast and loose with certain things. Like, there are some spots in the New Testament where they're clearly talking about slavery, and the ESV will be like, oh, bond servants. And then, but weirdly, the NIV in the Old Testament will just come out and say slave. But in the New Testament, or no. The Old Testament, ESV in the Old Testament is just like, no, that's a slave. Slave this, slave that. But in the New Testament, it's like bond servant. But the NIV in the New Testament is like slave this, slave that. But then in the Old Testament is bond servant. It's weird how they, like, both translations are trying to soften the slavery thing.
Yeah.
But like they are the exact opposite of each other when it comes to New Testament versus Old Testament.
So I think I actually know what my favorite translation of the Bible is. I think I've taken some time. I've done a little bit of research in the last 2 minutes.
It's the one into Klingon?
Nope.
Oh.
It's the Sonic Bible.
The Sonic Bible. Okay. I should have known.
And just so if anybody's wondering, that is a real thing. Look it up and have fun.
Okay. Enjoy that. My favorite translation is the one that I'm apparently doing with my partner right now, where you get Adam and Eve snowballing Adam's cum.
Yeah.
And respect the dick and stuff like that. So that's fun. And yeah, that's
everything.
That's everything. I tried to go easy on you today because I know you had a rough week. I was thinking that we would be done early. This isn't that early, but this is about
4 minutes. That's a lot of time. Oh wait, that's not a lot of time for most people, is it?
No, it's not. I do have to pee though.
Erectile dysfunction's a bitch.
Okay. I can't really comment on that, since I was talking about Adam and Eve snowballing Adam's cum back into his mouth, so I can't really...
You opened the gate for this. This is appropriate.
I can't really complain that you went too far after I did that. Oh, nope. Yeah, there was one verse where Jesus is Satan. I forget what verse that was, but basically Jesus talks about how a thief... Like, he explains that Satan is like a thief. He only comes to steal and destroy. But then,
and then Jesus is like a thief in the night.
Yeah, in another part in the Bible says Jesus is a thief in the night. So I think it was Luke 10:10. Jesus is Satan. Because Jesus says Satan is like a thief. The Bible says Jesus is like a thief. Jesus is Satan confirmed.
Whew.
So yeah,
well,
most of our reinterpretations are somewhat reasonable. Like, they're obviously not scholarly, but you can see how you get there.
Yeah.
The cum snowballing thing, that one also you can kind of see how you get there, but that one's less scholarly than the others.
This whole ordeal is teaching me that my webcam setup is not doing very well with my model. I need to figure out my lighting or something. Okay,
well, you know what? You need to, like, take a nap or something. You've had a long week, so as always, fuck off.